Joining me live in the studio is Dan Tehan. He's the Shadow Minister for Energy and Emissions Reduction. Well, let's start with what the Nationals are saying. Well, Barnaby Joyce and Michael McCormack, are you open to scrapping net zero?
Well, obviously what Barnaby and Michael are saying, it's like two steers in a paddock, which is the neighbour's paddock. And I grew up on a farm, and when two steers are fighting in the neighbour's paddock, let them fight. You let the owner know, and they'll sort all that out. And meanwhile, you just get on doing your job, and that's what I'm doing. We've obviously set up a process. It's an incredibly important process under Sussan Lee's stewardship. We're beginning those meetings starting today, and we'll make sure that as we go and pursue our energy and emissions reduction policy, we focus on a couple of things which is incredibly important. The first is cost. What is the cost, for instance, of the government's 82% renewable target? What is the cost of the government's capacity investment scheme, which they're hiding from the Australian people? And we need to know why they're hiding that cost.
But this is about the coalition, and you've got to admit this timing from the Nats is pretty unhelpful for Sussan Lee on day one of question time.
Well, as I said, Kieran, the two steers they're over in the paddock doing what they're doing.
They're getting
That's the neighbour's paddock.
They're distracting the attention, aren't they?
I'm not going to comment on internal National Party politics. Just like we always ask them to respect us regarding our politics. So what I'm doing is focusing on getting on with the job, and we're doing that this afternoon. We're meeting. We'll start discussing very important issues like gas. Obviously, the renewables only approach, ideologically driven by Chris Bowen, has led to electricity prices soaring.
But can you work with them? Because Michael McCormack has been asked, he's coming on this program a bit later, but he was asked, can he work with the Liberals if you stick with net zero? He said, we'll just have to wait and see. Can you have a situation where the Nationals scrap it, you stick with it? Is that viable?
Well, obviously the National Party have got their own internal processes, and that's up for the National Party. And David Littleproud is the leader. They'll obviously have their process, which they'll follow, and that's up to them. And as always be, we've set up a coalition process as well, and we're beginning to start meeting and do that. So
it's not easy though. Let's have a listen to Barnaby Joyce and then Jane Hume this morning. I want to play you both because then you can get your reaction to it. Have a look at this.
I don't care about some arbitrary target. I want to know what you think our energy mix should look like.
Yeah, we should have more baseload power. Yes, you should have more coal-fired power stations. You should contend with nuclear.
Over and over again now, the electorate has told us that they want to see a net zero energy future. They want to see emissions come down. That's what successive elections have told us. Now, my personal opinion is that this is profoundly important for not just the electorate, but also for our country. We want to make sure, though, that transition to a lower emissions future is seen through the lens of an economic problem, because that is exactly what it is. We want to make sure that we have abundant energy in this country, but we also want to make sure that we bring down emissions and that we make sure that we have a better future and a better planet for our children and their children.
So very different positions there. How do you reconcile that when Barnaby Joyce wants more coal-fired power? What do you believe on when it comes to coal-fired power? Do you rule out that being in the mix, new coal-fired power stations?
So we can reconcile this and we can work through it like we always do. And Jane Hume picked up on important terminology which I've started using because this is what we're seeing across the rest of the world. This notion that we now need energy abundance. With what's happening when it comes to AI, when it comes to where the globe is heading strategically.
Does that include new coal-fired power, as Barnaby Joyce wants?
One of the things we are seeing here in Australia is state governments, both in New South Wales and Victoria, looking to extend the life of coal power stations. One of the technologies that we're seeing is the creation using agricultural waste of black bricks, which feed into coal-fired power stations, which reduce the overall emissions of those coal-fired power stations.
I've got a copy of the Barnaby Joyce private members bill, the repeal net zero bill, and two of the acts that he wants to repeal were Howard era pieces of legislation: the National Greenhouse and Energy Reporting Act of 2007 and the Renewable Energy Electricity Act of the year 2000. They're the two from the Howard era, and in the bill it just says repeal the act, repeal the act, repeal the act. It's just getting rid of every bit of climate legislation. Are you open to that?
Obviously, that's Barnaby's private members bill, and as a member of the coalition, he's entitled to bring forward...
But you're not going to be repealing Howard-era legislation, are you?
Just let me finish, Kieran. Let me finish. So that's a private members bill. Now, as a member of the coalition, he's entitled to bring that private members bill forward. That's part of the philosophy that we have as Nationals and as Liberals, that if you're on the backbench, you can bring forward private members bills. But what we have is a process which has been set up by Sussan and by David Littleproud to work through our approach, and that is the approach that we will take to the Australian.
So you're not going to, but you won't be repealing Howard-era Clean Energy Acts, are you?
Kieran, I'm not going to rule in, rule out things as we go along today. What I'm saying is we've got a process that we're putting in place, and that will be the policy that we take to the next election.
But net zero is not locked in by any stretch, from what you're saying.
We're working through the approach that we will take. Now, I'm not going to come in here this afternoon or this morning and say to you, this is the approach we're going to take, because Sussan has been very clear. All our policies are on the table and we've got to work through them. We've set up a process to do that. That's my job. Obviously have some experience on the international side of this. I've obviously been part, when I was at DFAT as a diplomat, was part of delegations that went to COPs, the one in Buenos Aires. But also, you know, I just look at my electorate. Dairy processing, I had the dairy food processors in earlier. They are very worried about...
I understand, and I don't want to get in the rule in, rule out, be accused of doing that.
No, I'm not accusing you of doing that.
But no, I don't want to get caught in that game. But the thing is, this bit of stuff, bit of legislation here, these acts from the Howard era that Barnaby Joyce wants repealed, you could rule that out. Well, I mean, that's not a hard thing to rule out.
Barnaby Joyce is... that's a private members bill of Barnaby Joyce's. What I'm saying to you is that we will have our processes that we will take to the Australian people, and that will be based on our policies and policies that we took to the last election.
You're going to need every bit of your diplomatic skills, starting off in DFAT as a diplomat. Well, this is a tough job.
I always have, Kieran. You know, whatever I've been asked to do, whether it was dealing with Chinese economic coercion when I was Trade Minister, making sure that we got an agreement when it came to education funding, when I was Education Minister. So, you know, I love these challenges and I'm looking forward to them.
I wonder what's harder, dealing with the Chinese Communist Party or Barnaby?
Well, as I've said,
good luck.
As I've said, you know, I love these challenges and I'm looking forward to them.
Dan Tehan, appreciate your time. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Kieran.